Hello there and welcome to another live chapter reading for Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Today I shall be reading from Vox Astra, The Black Box by James Chambers. War movies. We watched movies underground while the surface burned. Down in our rabbit holes the sound of the bombs never reached us, but the earth shook in their impact while we sat in the dark and watched moving pictures flicker across a silver screen. We knew what kind of hell rained down over our heads, one full of heat, shrapnel and death, worse than any atrocity long-dead special effects wizards had left for us on film. When enough sky busters exploded at once, they set the air on fire. We wondered what we'd find left of our home and of the wreck when we deployed up Earth. Whenever our time came, some of the guys worried that our 12 brutal weeks in boot camp and 3 more in psych prep would go to waste without any of us seeing so much as a skirmish. Other guys hoped for that. I knew better. We were weapons, and the army didn't make weapons it didn't intend to use. When the movie started, I knew we'd see action before long. All they showed us were war movies and monster movies, the blockbusters, the classics, the cult favourites, and even a few hits from the summer before the threat dropped down and started us fighting for our lives. The most gruesome movies ran 2 or 3 times a week. During the day we bled out our frustrations in the gyms and training rooms, and at night we stoked them up again with images of violence and alienness, of combat and heroism, of strangeness, mystery, and bloody struggle for survival. The picture shows were part of a slow burn lit to keep our rage simmering. They reinforced the narrative we'd learned in boot camp. They showed us again and again that only country and fellowship mattered, and that aliens like the Freck were nothing more than slavering, man-eating, evil beasts, hell-bent on raping our planet and enslaving us. We heard the message loud and clear. One night, a PFC from Kansas joked about why, if they were so hot for the sci-fi stuff, they never showed E.T. Without missing a beat, the guy next to him described in detail how he would shove a grenade down E.T.'s throat and blow his fucking heart like the fuck home, and fuck needing to use the phone. Everyone laughed so hard they stopped the movie. The stranger part of it is, when you see some of these guys from on-screen walking around in officer's dress, seeing them on television, like Little General Eastwood and General McQueen address the nation, gives you a touch of that uncanny valley sensation. But in person, they make your skin crawl. Colonel Connery, CO for our rabbit hole, looks exactly like the real deal circa 1968, except nothing from back then still knocks around his head, only ideas of death and killing and keeping our morale high. They cloned them so well, I bet even their wives and girlfriends, if they were still alive, wouldn't know the difference. I get the guy's attention, sure enough. No one's mind ever wanders when the Colonel speaks in his powerful Scottish accent, and whenever they run one of his old movies, a handful of guys always hit him up for autographs, asking how it's like shooting the love scenes. He smirks and nods as if he knows. It's a hell of a psych out. No bombing for 2 days. Our orders came through, surface clean-up for most of the men, but not for my platoon. We were pulled special duty. We were to rendezvous with a special forces unit that had collected what our orders described as a valuable artefact, secure it from them, and bring it to Camp Scott on the double quick, of course. Leaving our rabbit hole, however, involved a process. First, advance teams surfaced and reported back on up Earth conditions. Then everyone got booster shots against possible contagion from the Freck remains. Took anti-rad pills and equipped themselves with live ammo and full integrity body armour to replace what we'd damaged in training. CENTCOM had shipped us in and tucked us away only days ahead of the campaign to sterilise the eastern seaboard, then left us down Earth for 2 months, like cicadas waiting to hatch from the ground when the weather turned hot, and we were eager to go. Even the guys who'd been dreading the day they'd see in action looked relieved to finally do something. Colonel Connery made the rounds while we suited up. Captain Willis and Captain Weathers followed him. They helped with our gear, they steadied our nerves and tried to keep us from thinking too much about the blasted wasteland that waited on the surface. I snapped the last of my armour in place, checked my ammunition and waited for my platoon to keep suiting up. I was their sergeant. I tried not to think about what that meant. I'd had weeks to ruminate on it. Now was the time to act. Colonel Connery reviewed our orders with me and said he was grateful to have a man like me in his division. I wondered how much of that came from what they programmed into his brain on the clone farm, or if he'd thought any of that upon his own. I guess it didn't matter one way or the other. His prep talk was protocol. When he finished, he slapped me on the back and said he'd keep a good cigar waiting for me, then walked off into the crowd of soldiers. By then, my platoon had gathered at the elevator. The long ride to the surface passed in silence. Anticipation poured off my men in waves. They were good soldiers. Abernathy, Barnes, Champ, Foster, Itchen, Marvin, Morris, Smith and Tester. And me, Colin Rook. They were my soldiers, the Rook Raiders. I hoped we'd all come back together. I knew we wouldn't. I hope you enjoyed this live chapter reading and that you'll go check out the book. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.